Fresh off of a Triple Crown season for the ages, it's fair to say that Ja'Marr Chase is at his peak right now.
Burrow airs it out. Chase, hello, touchdown Cincinnati.
It's Burrow quickly outside. Chase looking for blocks from his tight end. He gets two of them, and he's off to the races. It's a foot race. Working against Stevens. Ja'Marr Chase, touchdown!
Looks that way. Throws that way. Caught! Chase. What a night.
And that's really saying something considering he's eclipsed the 1,000-yard mark in all 4 of his seasons in the NFL so far, earning a spot on the Pro Bowl each year. I mean, now with the Bengals failing to extend him before his breakout campaign this past season, Chase is set to become the highest paid wide receiver in NFL history, and no one's complaining. And in today's video, we're gonna look at different times that players, coaches, and even analysts tried to tear down and even talk about Ja'Marr Chase. And at the end of the video, we're even gonna reveal the controversial take that Marlon Humphrey and Patrick Surtain said about Ja'Marr Chase, forcing him to go absolutely nuclear when he faced them. Because this is what NFL players actually think about Ja'Marr Chase. Now, the Cincinnati Bengals not paying Ja'Marr Chase before the 2024 season honestly might have been one of the biggest mistakes they made this past season, because now he's going to take up a large spot of that cap because they're going to have to pay him a huge amount after the season he just had this year. A simply sensational Triple Crown effort from Ja'Marr Chase saw him bring in 127 receptions for 1,708 yards and 17 touchdowns. Those all led the NFL and were career highs in Chase's 4th season in the NFL, unsurprisingly landing him on the first team All-Pro roster as well. I mean, honestly, while the production, we kind of expect that out of Ja'Marr Chase now, especially that he's been putting up these numbers for the past 4 years while he's been in the NFL, they always haven't come at such a smooth start like this past year. Because they didn't get a contract sorted before the season, Chase held out for much of the preseason, something that he did acknowledge and contributed to somewhat of a slow start this past year. Against the Patriots, he only managed 62 yards and 35 yards against the Chiefs, which were both in 2 losses to open the year, but fellow star wide receiver Davante Adams was never worried about the poor form lingering. When Kay Adams asked him why the lack of preseason and minimal reps wasn't going to be a problem for Chase in the long run, Davante Adams said this.
He's a special player, man. I mean, Ja'Marr he's one of a kind. He's got like this ability. His awareness on the football field is elite. His run after the catch is like probably the best in the league right now. And I mean, he's doing a lot that's looking like the best in the league right now. And he's, Joe is balling too. So obviously Joe playing the way that he is, that's gonna give him a lot of opportunities and, great supporting cast. And I'm happy for him in particular. Obviously their season hasn't gone the way that I'm sure they wanted wins wise, but when you look at the way that he's been able to contribute and the way Joe's been able to contribute is really impressive. So I'm rooting for those guys for sure.
I mean, look, Davante was certainly correct in his analysis because 118 yards and 2 touchdowns in week 3 against the Commanders is what kickstarted Chase's season before having another eruption against the Ravens in week 5 with 193 yards and 2 touchdowns. Like, I mean, coming up against your division rivals is a surefire way to make yourself a fan favorite, and Ja'Marr Chase knows a thing or two about doing that. In the Bengals' second clash with the Ravens in 2024, he went even bigger, bringing in 11 receptions for 264 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Looks that way. Throws that way. Caught! Chase. What a night.
And because of how well he played too, Tom Brady took note, picking Chase as one of his stars of the week.
Next up, Ja'Marr Chase. He went off on Thursday night against the Ravens. I'm talking video game type numbers. He had 264 yards on 11 catches. Nobody can stop this guy. Ja'Marr has been balling out this year. He's going for the receiving Triple Crown. I didn't even know that was a thing. But leading the league in catches, yards, and receiving touchdowns, that would be it.
Not everybody was quite happy about the blow-up performance, though. Like, I mean, having watched Chase go for 457 yards and 5 touchdowns against his own team over their 2 games, Ravens star defender Marlon Humphrey had this to say about his rival.
I'm tired of that dude. He's just different. It's not even so much about the route he runs, whatever. It's just when he gets the ball in his hands, if you don't tackle him soon, it can get really ugly. So he's just he's a good player. It's, you know, you never really can count the Bengals out when he's on their team. And he can, I mean, I think he had like 200, like over 250, which is rough.
Despite the insane performance, Chase ended up on the losing side in both of those games against Baltimore, which was an unfortunate trend of the 2024 season for Cincinnati. Poor defensive play and a slow start meant that Chase got no reward for his Triple Crown season, with the Bengals' 9-8 record falling just short of the playoffs. For his efforts though, Chase did come in third in Offensive Player of the Year voting, while his quarterback Joe Burrow won the Comeback Player of the Year award and came fourth in MVP voting. After overcoming the slow start, Burrow was in absolutely unbelievable form, passing for a career-high 4,019 yards, 43 touchdowns, and just 9 interceptions. And truthfully, had the Bengals actually won a few games earlier in the season, Burrow probably would have been the MVP, and his partnership with his star wideout is a big factor in both players' dominance. You see, before they were tearing it up in Cincinnati, as we all know, Chase and Burrow were tearing it up as college teammates at LSU, contributing to one of the greatest, if not the greatest college offense of all time when the Tigers won the championship in 2019. And when asked about their journey together, Burrow was full of praise for Chase, not just as a teammate, but as a best friend as well.
Come from LSU and then go on to Cincinnati and play together. You showed up in Jamar's uniform, LSU uniform today. Talk about this bond and how special this is.
Well, he's not only a great teammate, but he's one of my best friends. We hang out all the time. I'm so fortunate to be able to play with this guy. He's one of the great all-time greats. He's going to continue to be good for years to come, and I'm very fortunate to be able to play with him every day.
Their prolonged partnership has certainly worked out well for both players, with the pair almost helping lead the Bengals to a Super Bowl in Chase's rookie campaign in 2021. Now, after 3 more years of dominance by the former LSU wideout, there's absolutely no doubt Burrow wants him to get the money that he does deserve.
Yeah, everybody sees it every single week in and week out. He continues to make unbelievable plays, make people miss, score 50-plus yards, touchdowns. I don't know what more he could do to show and prove himself. We have several guys like that who have stepped up for us and deserve to be paid what they're worth. Well said.
And it's really just no surprise to see Joe Burrow backing up his guy. But he's not the only player in the NFL that's aware of their special connection. When asked whether Chase was the best wide receiver he's ever played against, 2024 Defensive Player of the Year Pat Surtain instantly said yes before speaking about their connection all the way from college.
Is he the best receiver you faced this year?
Yeah, definitely. For sure. I think all around.
What sets him apart now?
Him and Joe connecting together, I think that's tough to stop. For sure.
Do you think they've gotten better together? Has their connection gotten even scarier since back when you faced them all those times?
Oh yeah. I think it's even better now because, in the league, to be able to connect like that in the league, I think that's pretty dominant. In college, he had him, Justin, Clyde Edwards on the offense. So I think, not saying he wasn't getting as many looks as he had, but I feel like their offense back then was unstoppable. But to see that transpire into the league, that's pretty special, for sure.
Praise from the Defensive Player of the Year is about as high as they come, especially when you directly match up against them. When Surtain and the Denver Broncos faced against the Bengals in Week 17 of the 2024 season, Chase brought in 9 receptions for 102 yards. However, when he was covered by Surtain, the Bengal only managed 3 catches for 27 yards on 6 targets. Truthfully, when we see those kind of guys going up against each other, that is the best against the best, and to get that respect from Surtain too, who is the best, if not one of the best cornerbacks in the league, is highly regarded. And not only that too, but when you have a guy like Jamar Chase that needs just all of that attention every single game, it allows for their other wide receiver that's done phenomenal job as a wide receiver too, and T. Higgins, to step up and get even more yards when Jamar Chase isn't having his day. Against the Broncos, Higgins produced 7 catches for 101 yards and 2 touchdowns, showing just how valuable Chase is, with his presence alone helping alleviate pressure on his teammates. Obviously, as we all know though, you're probably better putting the ball in Jamar's hands, but you can't do that every single play as we see. I mean, even as we look at the rankings too, his peers ranked him 45th in the NFL's top 100 list in 2024, and Colts linebacker Zaire Franklin perfectly summed up what makes him so special.
Man, he's dynamic, bro. Obviously, he's a good route runner. He can make plays down the field, but it's just about getting the ball in his hands. He's tough to tackle. He finishes runs.
Oh my God!
Tough and crazy out there. He played with that energy, that dog mentality, which I love. He can do pretty much everything out there, man. He's one of the best receivers in the league for sure.
And I mean, Minkah Fitzpatrick also had some very complimentary things to say about Chase. And I mean, he should know too, because the Steelers have to prepare for him every single year, twice a year.
I think people respect his physicality as much as they should. Bigger body receiver, he's a guy that's tough to tackle.
I mean, truthfully, it's that physicality and run after the catch ability that makes him so dangerous, turning the simplest of screen passes into house calls. 797 of Chase's yards came after the catch in 2024, according to PFF, which unsurprisingly led the NFL. That yak ability really is a superpower that makes him one of the most dangerous players in the entire NFL, and it's something that Chris Collinsworth singled out when on the Manning cast.
Well, I just haven't seen anybody. If you've seen him play, he's built like a running back. He really is. And so time after time, people try to come up, and these 190-pound cornerbacks think they're just going to hit him like he's another receiver, and he bounces off and goes. The other day, he had a play where it was a simple wide receiver screen. There were 4 people converging on him. I stopped the tape. I showed it to everybody. We're getting ready to do the Bengals. I go, all right, tell me the odds that Jamar Chase scores a 70-yard touchdown on this play. Right? 0. It was 0. And I'm not sure anybody ever even touched him on the play.
And I mean, even when we try and look around and see what other defensive players think about Jamar Chase and what his toughest quality is to guard about him, they constantly are bringing up his yak ability. I mean, even Tyrann Mathieu, who's faced off against some of the very best in his 12-year career, yielding 2 first-team All-Pros and 1 Super Bowl, compared Chase to one of those at the very top.
He's like Odell Beckham 2.0. We always appreciated guys like Odell and Julio Jones and Jerry Rice. These guys can catch a slant and take it yard. And he's one of them.
And I mean, look, Mathieu saw firsthand Chase's qualities when he landed 266 yards and 3 touchdowns on the Chiefs as a rookie before facing him again in the AFC Championship game. And as crazy as it sounds too, that was the last Chiefs postseason loss before almost achieving the three-peat this year, and Chase got on the score sheet once again, helping Cincy reach the Super Bowl, where they eventually lost to the LA Rams. Chase's performances that year that they went to the Super Bowl helped prevent Mathieu from getting another shot at a ring with the Chiefs, and since then, Casey has had far more success, winning 2 Super Bowls and appearing in a 3rd, but that doesn't mean they aren't scared of the threat that Chase poses. Even the young superstar corner and Trent McDuffie had this to say about defending Chase during the season. Like, I mean, when the opponent's game plan is to simply do whatever they can to avoid you getting the ball, you know you're doing something right and that you've earned their respect as a playmaker. There's no doubt that Chase warrants that respect. His 1,455 yards and 13 touchdowns as a rookie won him the Offensive Rookie of the Year award and almost got him a ring. In his most recent effort of 1,708 yards and 17 touchdowns in 2024, won him the Triple Crown in a first-team All-Pro selection. With 2 more 1,000-yard Pro Bowl efforts in between, there's little doubt that Jamar Chase is one of the league's best wide receivers. Obviously, Joe Burrow is a big part of this success, and someone who gets to see that magic partnership up close and personal is Bengals head coach Zach Taylor, who very simply had this to say about his superstars.
I don't know that anybody can stand on a field and watch Joe Burrow and say he's not the best player in the world, and then you can transfer that argument to Jamar Chase as well, and you can argue those 2 to death.